Hello, wonderful listeners, and welcome to our channel. Settle in, get cozy, and prepare to be transported to a world of wonder and ancient mysteries. Before we dive into our story, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and let us know in the comments where you retuning in from. We love hearing from you. Now let's begin our tale, The Wildcat's Awakening. The ancient forest of Eldoria was a symphony of greens and browns, a sprawling tapestry woven with the threads of time. Sunlight dappled through the dense canopy, painting shifting patterns on the moss-laden forest floor. It was here, amidst the whispering leaves and the gurgling of hidden springs, that a young wildcat named Luna made her home. Luna was not like the other felines of Eldoria. While her kin were content with the daily hunt and the simple rhythm of forest life, a restless stir often pulsed within her. A quiet hum that spoke of something more, something unknown. Her fur was the color of twilight, sleek and dark, save for the luminous emerald of her eyes, which seemed to hold the very secrets of the forest depths. She was agile and swift, a shadow flitting between the ancient trees. Yet there was a tenderness in her gaze, a profound curiosity that set her apart. She often found herself drawn to the oldest parts of the forest, places where the trees grew impossibly tall, their branches tangled like the roots of forgotten lore. Here, the air was thick with the scent of damp earth and ancient wood, and a sense of profound age settled upon her like a comforting blanket. She would sit for hours, listening to the wind sigh through the leaves, feeling the heartbeat of the forest beneath her paws, a heartbeat that sometimes seemed to echo her own unspoken longings. One crisp autumn morning, as the first rays of sun began to kiss the highest branches, Luna was exploring a rarely visited grove. It was a place where colossal, moss-covered stones lay scattered like forgotten giants, their surfaces etched with the slow erosion of centuries. As she padded silently among them, her keen senses picked up an unusual scent, not of prey, nor of rival predator, but something ancient, almost metallic, yet intertwined with the earthy aroma of the forest. Following the subtle trail, she came upon a clearing dominated by an enormous, gnarled oak, its trunk wider than 3 wildcats laid end to end. Its bark was a labyrinth of deep crevices, and its topmost branches seemed to scrape against the very sky. At its base, nestled amongst a tangle of roots, was a small, smooth stone, unlike any she had seen. It was obsidian black, but embedded within its surface were tiny, almost imperceptible veins that shimmered with a faint internal light like captured starlight. As Luna cautiously approached, a faint warmth emanated from the stone, gently caressing her fur. She nudged it with her nose, and a ripple of energy, cool yet vibrant, passed through her, causing the fur along her spine to tingle. It was a sensation both startling and deeply familiar, as if a long-dormant memory had just been stirred within her very bones. The forest, which moments before had been a symphony of natural sounds, now seemed to hold its breath, listening. A whisper carried on the morning breeze, brushed against her ears, a language without words, a feeling that she was on the precipice of something extraordinary, something that had been waiting for her since before she was born. This was no ordinary stone, and Luna was no ordinary wildcat. The awakening had begun. The strange obsidian stone pulsed faintly under Luna's paw, its subtle light seeming to draw her deeper into its mystery. The ripple of energy she felt was no fleeting sensation. It lingered, a quiet hum beneath her fur, awakening dormant nerves and stirring a profound sense of purpose she hadn't known she lacked. She spent the rest of the morning in that secluded grove, circling the ancient oak and the enigmatic stone, trying to decipher the wordless message it conveyed. The forest around her felt different now, imbued with a new layer of meaning, as if a veil had been lifted from her perceptions. Every rustle of leaves, every distant bird call, seemed to carry a hidden significance, a quiet echo of the power she had just touched. As the sun climbed higher, casting longer shadows, Luna felt an undeniable pull not towards her usual hunting grounds, but deeper into the forest, towards the very heart of Eldoria, a place whispered about in hushed tones by the elder felines, the grove of whispering elders. It was said to be a place of ancient wisdom, guarded by a solitary, wise creature who rarely showed herself to the younger generations. Driven by an instinct she couldn't ignore, Luna set off. Her journey was not without its challenges. The path grew less defined, the undergrowth thicker, and the air grew heavy with an almost palpable energy. She navigated treacherous ravines and scaled steep, rocky outcrops, her emerald eyes scanning for any sign of the elder's dwelling. Finally, as twilight began to paint the sky in hues of deep purple and fiery orange, she arrived at a clearing unlike any other. Here, the trees were not just old. They were ancient, their massive trunks twisted into grotesque, beautiful shapes, their branches reaching up like skeletal fingers towards the heavens. In the center, perched upon a moss-covered boulder, was an owl of immense size, its feathers the color of moonlit snow, its eyes like polished amber, deep and all-knowing. This was Alara, the guardian of the grove, the keeper of Eldoria's oldest secrets. Alara regarded Luna with an intensity that made the young wildcat feel as though her very soul was being laid bare. There was no menace in the gaze, only profound understanding and a hint of weary patience. "You carry the mark of the awakened," Alara's voice resonated, a soft hoot that seemed to even vibrate from the very air around them, a rare lineage, long thought lost to the ages. Luna, startled by the directness and the unexpected knowledge, could only stare. The stone at the great oak. She began, her voice a mere whisper. Alara nodded slowly. "The Heartstone. A beacon for those of your bloodline." It stirred a memory, did it not? A whisper of power, a glimpse of what lies within. The owl then spoke of the ancient wildcat clan, the original protectors of Eldoria, who possessed a unique connection to the forest's life force, able to sense its pain and channel its restorative energies. Their lineage, however, had dwindled, their powers fading into legend until now. "You, Luna," Alara continued, her voice growing softer, "are a descendant of the first keepers. The forest calls to you not merely as a resident, but as its destined guardian. The awakening has begun, but the path ahead is fraught with challenges. You must learn to harness what lies within." Alara then hinted at a forgotten prophecy, a time when the forest would face its greatest threat, and only an awakened wildcat could stand against the encroaching darkness. Luna felt a surge of fear, but beneath it, a thrill of purpose, a sense that the restless hum inside her finally had a name. She was not just Luna, a wildcat of Eldoria. She was a link to an ancient legacy, a glimmer of the past, destined to shape the future. Alara's words settled over Luna like a cloak woven from ancient secrets and weighty responsibility. The concept of being a keeper, a guardian, resonated deep within her, aligning with the inexplicable stirring she'd always felt. The hum beneath her fur intensified, no longer just a vague sensation, but a clear, insistent thrumming urging her onward. "How do I learn?" Luna finally managed to ask, her voice barely audible amidst the rustling leaves of the grove of whispering elders. "What must I do?" Alara's amber eyes seemed to gleam in the deepening twilight. "The forest itself will be your teacher, young Luna. But first, you must seek the source. It is a place of profound power, where the veil between worlds is thinnest, where the ancestors' echoes are loudest." The owl described a perilous journey to the sunken peaks, a range of jagged mountains that pierced the sky at the very edge of Eldoria, a place rarely ventured by any creature. Legend spoke of powerful winds, treacherous rockfalls, and creatures of shadow that guarded the sacred paths. Yet, as Alara spoke, Luna felt no fear, only a growing sense of magnetic pull. The call of her ancestors was not a quiet whisper anymore. It was a roaring chorus in her soul, a primal drumbeat urging her towards her destiny. Over the next few days, Luna prepared for her arduous journey. She honed her hunting skills, sharpened her senses, and memorized the star patterns Alara had shown her, which would guide her through the uncharted territories. The other wildcats noticed a change in her, a newfound intensity in her gaze, a focused determination in her movements. She carried herself with an air of purpose, though none but Alara knew the true weight of her quest. As the first light of dawn painted the eastern sky in hues of rose and gold, Luna bid farewell to the familiar comfort of her home territory. With a final glance back at the ancient oak and the hidden heartstone, she turned her face towards the towering silhouette of the sunken peaks. The journey was immediately challenging. The forest floor gave way to increasingly rocky terrain, the familiar sense of Eldoria replaced by the crisp, biting air of higher altitudes. She encountered swift rivers, their currents strong enough to sweep away even a creature of her agility, forcing her to find precarious crossings. She navigated through dense thickets of thorns that snagged at her fur, and across slippery scree slopes where a single misstep could send her plummeting into the chasms below. Each challenge, however, seemed to sharpen her senses, to hone her instincts. She learned to read the shifting winds, to discern the faint tremors of instability in the earth, to find purchase on the most unlikely surfaces. As she climbed higher, the air grew thin, and the cold became a constant companion, seeping into her bones. One evening, huddled beneath an overhang as a furious mountain storm raged, Luna experienced her first vivid vision. The world around her dissolved into a swirling vortex of colors and ancient sounds. She saw glimpses of powerful wildcats, their fur shimmering with inner light, moving with a grace she could only dream of. They were protecting a vibrant, glowing forest from an encroaching darkness, a tendril of shadow that sought to choke the life from the very trees. She saw their struggles, their triumphs, and their eventual fading, their spirits intertwining with the roots of Eldoria. When she awoke, shivering but invigorated, the storm had passed, leaving behind a sky ablaze with countless stars. The vision had not been a dream. It was a memory, a direct connection to her ancestral past, a clear affirmation of her purpose. The call of the ancestors was undeniable now, a powerful current pulling her towards the source, towards her true awakening. Days bled into nights as Luna pressed onward, the sunken peaks a formidable barrier between her and the source. The trials were relentless, each one pushing her physical and mental limits further than she thought possible. She learned to hunt in the sparse, unforgiving mountain environment, her senses adapting to the echoes that reverberated off the sheer rock faces. She endured biting winds that threatened to tear her from precarious ledges and navigated through treacherous ice fields, her paws finding purchase where none seemed to exist. There was a primal beauty to the mountains, a stark grandeur that mirrored the wildness awakening within her. She saw magnificent eagles soaring on thermals, their cries echoing through the canyons, and nimble mountain goats traversing cliffs with impossible ease. These creatures, too, were survivors, their spirit interwoven with the rugged landscape, and Luna felt a kinship with them, a shared understanding of the untamed world. One afternoon, as she carefully picked her way along a narrow ridge, a sudden guttural snarl echoed from a cave entrance above her. A creature emerged, its eyes glowing with predatory hunger, a massive, shaggy mountain beast, a grizzled guardian of these higher altitudes. Known for its ferocity, it was far larger than any opponent Luna had ever faced, its claws like daggers, its teeth glinting menacingly. This was a true test, not just of strength, but of the awakened instincts Alara had spoken of. The beast charged, its roar shaking the very stones. Luna, instead of fleeing, stood her ground. A surge of raw, untamed power coursed through her veins, a swiftness and precision she hadn't known she possessed. She dodged the beast's initial lunge with an almost unnatural agility, a blur of twilight fur against the gray rock. Her mind, usually analytical, now moved with an instinctual grace, anticipating the beast's movements before they happened. She used the uneven terrain to her advantage, leading the brute into a dance of feints and parries, wearing down its brute strength with her calculated movements. With a sudden burst of speed, she darted past its defenses, delivering a precise, powerful blow to its flank before retreating again. The beast, surprised by her unexpected prowess, hesitated, its eyes narrowing. It had expected an easy meal, not a formidable opponent. After a tense standoff, with Luna holding her ground, radiating a quiet, unwavering resolve, the mountain beast let out a frustrated growl, turned and retreated back into its cave, recognizing the spirit of a true warrior. The encounter left Luna trembling, not from fear, but from the sheer exhilaration of having faced such a threat and emerged victorious. She felt a profound shift within her, a shedding of old doubts, a solidification of her inner strength. This wasn't just physical prowess. It was a deeper connection to the wild heart of the world, a wellspring of ancient power she was only just beginning to tap into. As she continued her ascent, the air grew colder still, and the landscape became increasingly ethereal. She began to see faint, shimmering lights in the distance, a soft glow emanating from the highest, most inaccessible peak. This was it, the source. The trials had forged her, hardened her, and prepared her for what lay ahead. She was no longer just Luna, the curious wildcat. She was a conduit for an ancient power, ready to embrace her destiny. With renewed determination, Luna pressed on towards the shimmering light, her paws aching, her muscles protesting, but her spirit unyielding. The air grew thick with an almost tangible energy, tingling against her fur like static electricity. The landscape transformed into something otherworldly. Jagged peaks gave way to a plateau of luminous, crystalline rock, and the very air seemed to hum with ancient power. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she reached the highest point. Before her lay not a peak, but a vast, hidden grotto, nestled deep within the mountain's core. The grotto was a breathtaking sight, illuminated by an ethereal glow that emanated from countless bioluminescent fungi clinging to the cavern walls, casting soft, shifting patterns of blue, green, and purple. In the center of the grotto, a pool of water shimmered with an otherworldly light, its surface perfectly still, reflecting the glowing ceiling like a cosmic mirror. Ancient carvings adorned the grotto walls, depicting majestic wildcats with eyes that pulsed with an inner light, their forms intertwined with the roots of mighty trees and the flow of mystical rivers. These were the first keepers, her ancestors, guardians of Eldoria. As Luna approached the shimmering pool, the air grew warmer, and a chorus of soft, resonant whispers filled the cavern, a symphony of forgotten voices. They spoke of balance, of protection, of the deep connection between all living things. As she dipped a paw into the luminous water, a surge of pure, unadulterated energy coursed through her, stronger than anything she had ever felt. It was not a violent force, but a gentle, profound infusion, like the very lifeblood of Eldoria flowing into her veins. Her emerald eyes glowed brighter, and her fur seemed to ripple with a faint internal light. It was in that moment, as the ancestral energies flooded her being, that Luna fully understood. The awakening was not just about gaining power. It was about remembering, about reconnecting with the ancient wisdom and responsibility of her lineage. She saw visions not fragmented like before, but whole and vivid. The forest's growth, its cycles of life and death, the subtle energies that sustained it, and the delicate balance that held it all together. She understood the language of the trees, the silent plea of the wilting flowers, the joyous song of the thriving river. She felt the pulse of Eldoria as if it were her own heart. The whispers of her ancestors intensified, guiding her. showing her how to channel the forest's energy, how to heal, how to protect. They revealed the nature of the encroaching darkness Alara had warned about, a slow, insidious blight that threatened to consume the forest from within, a force of imbalance born from forgotten grievances and unchecked ambition. It was a spiritual corruption, not merely a physical threat. Her role was not to fight with tooth and claw alone, but to restore harmony, to be the living conduit through which Eldoria could heal itself. Luna emerged from the shimmering pool, transformed. Her movements were more fluid, her senses sharper, her presence radiating a quiet authority. She was no longer just Luna, the curious wildcat. She was Luna, the awakened keeper, fully connected to the ancient lineage, ready to embrace the legacy that had awaited her for generations. The truth had been unveiled, and with it, a profound sense of purpose had settled into her very core. Having unveiled her legacy and fully embraced the power of the awakened keepers, Luna felt an undeniable pull to return to Eldoria. The forest, her home, now sang to her with 1,000 voices, a symphony of life and warning. She descended from the sunken peaks, no longer a weary traveler, but a creature imbued with a new purpose, her emerald eyes shining with the wisdom of ages and the fierce resolve of a guardian. Her journey back was swifter, her steps lighter, guided by an innate sense of direction and an urgent need to protect what she now understood so intimately. As she neared the familiar borders of Eldoria, a chilling sensation pierced through the vibrant hum of the forest's life force. The blight Alara and her ancestors had warned her about was more pervasive than she had imagined. Patches of trees were wilting prematurely, their leaves turning a sickly yellow-brown, and the once clear streams now flowed sluggishly, their waters clouded. A palpable sense of unease hung in the air, a whisper of decay amidst the usual vibrancy. The forest was suffering. Luna sought out Alara, finding the ancient owl perched not in her usual grove, but on a high exposed branch, her amber eyes scanning the distressed forest with sorrow. "The darkness grows, young keeper," Alara hooted, her voice heavy with concern. "It seeps from the whispering mire, an ancient swamp long thought dormant. It feeds on discord and fear, poisoning the very spirit of Eldoria." The whispering mire was a place of ill repute, rarely visited even by the bravest of creatures, a place where the air was thick with ancient, oppressive energies. Luna knew what she had to do. With her newfound abilities, she ventured towards the mire. The deeper she went, the more the forest twisted into grotesque shapes, the air growing heavy and cold. The blight manifested as shadowy tendrils creeping from the ground, attempting to ensnare her, to drain her spirit. But Luna was ready. Drawing upon the ancestral power within her, she focused her will. A warm emerald light emanated from her, pushing back the encroaching shadows. She didn't fight with claws, but with pure restorative energy, channeling the forest's own life force to cleanse the corruption. She found the heart of the mire, a stagnant pool where the darkness pulsed strongest. Here, ancient grievances and dark thoughts had festered for centuries, creating a nexus of imbalance. Luna stood firm, her form glowing, and unleashed a wave of pure, vibrant energy, a song of healing and renewal that resonated through the earth itself. The shadows recoiled, hissed, and then began to dissipate, replaced by the gentle light of the forest. The stagnant water began to clear, and tiny sprouts of new life pushed through the murky surface. It was a long, arduous task, but by the time the sun set, painting the sky in a triumphant blaze of colors, the whispering mire was no longer a source of blight, but a place slowly beginning to heal. Its ancient darkness receded. Luna returned to Eldoria, exhausted but victorious. The forest responded to her actions, its vitality returning. The wilting trees perked up, the streams flowed clearer, and the air hummed with renewed life. The other creatures of Eldoria, sensing the shift, looked at her with a new reverence. She had fulfilled the prophecy, embraced her destiny. Luna had found her true place, not just as a wildcat, but as the protector of the wild, a living bridge between the ancient wisdom of her ancestors and the thriving future of Eldoria. The wildcat's awakening was complete, and the forest, her beloved home, was safe once more under the watchful emerald gaze of its guardian. Thank you for listening to the Wildcat's Awakening. May this gentle story bring you peace, calm, and restful sleep. If my voice has helped you relax tonight, please consider liking, subscribing, and returning whenever you need comfort at bedtime. Until next time, sweet dreams and good night.